Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going hunting for XERNEAS in the Open Master League with my newly maxed out Perfect IV SKELEDIRGE. SKELEDIRGE is a Fire and Ghost type Pokemon. This means it's an absolute wall to XERNEAS' common charge moves of Moonblast and Close Combat. I was able to do over 200 Fuecoco trades this weekend with Boygos, who was in town for the weekend, and we were both able to get the lucky hundo, so you know I had to max it out and test it out in the Open Master League. And even though it only gets to about 3400 CP, I had some really fun battles with it. Hopping into the first match, leading Rayquaza into Dialga. This is a very negative lead. I'm going to save switch into my XERNEAS. My opponent is staying in here as Dialga. They're probably waiting for me to throw a Close Combat, because once I lower my defense, an Iron Head will one-shot. So instead of that, I'm going to go for the Moonblast, and I'm actually able to grab a shield from my opponent. I continue to farm. My opponent is massively overfarming, again waiting for me to debuff myself, but I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to go for double Moonblast. I can tank this Iron Head. My opponent is going to go for the Iron Head. They're now going to send in Rhyperior. It's the Mud Slap Rhyperior. Rhyperior doesn't quite get the farm down before XERNEAS makes the Close Combat. Since it is the Mud Slap variant, I can send in Rayquaza. They'll have absolutely zero fast move pressure here. They can go for the Breaking Swipe, and that does quite a lot of damage, but I will be able to get the farm down. I do get the farm down. I'm expecting the opponent to send in the Dialga, so I throw the blind Breaking Swipe, but in the back, it's something even better. Our target has been acquired. Hello, XERNEAS. No matter what XERNEAS throws here, Moonblast, it's resisted. Close Combat is double resisted. And they're now going to send in Dialga, which I can quickly take care of with the Disarming Voice. XERNEAS is going to have to re-enter the field here, and XERNEAS has a lot of work ahead of it here. XERNEAS is going to be firing off the Moonblast. I'm going to let this go. I know I can pretty comfortably tank the Moonblast. It looks like I might be able to tank a second one as well, but it'll be pretty close. I'm firing off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball gets them low. I'm going to switch into Rayquaza to force XERNEAS to throw their energy. XERNEAS has to go for the Moonblast to get the KO here, and now I can send in SKELEDIRGE, get the Incinerate farm down, and secure the win. We see same leads again in the next match, Rayquaza into Dialga. I'm going to save switch into XERNEAS, same game plan as before. Opponent is going to farm up, and they're now going to send in Lugia. I'm firing off this Moonblast into the Lugia. Moonblast connects, and I get an attack debuff. Attack debuffs from Moonblast is a pretty low likelihood of happening, so a bit of good luck goes our way early in this match. I go for Moonblast number 2. Even if I hadn't gotten the debuff, I do still survive the Aeroblast here, but now I survive it a lot more comfortably. So I'm able to tank it. I still have a lot of HP left, so I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity to massively overfarm up to 100 energy, and then fire off the Moonblast. Moonblast will get the KO, and I'm very close to a Close Combat for the Dialga. My opponent does not want to let that happen, so they send in their final Pokemon, which is Kyogre. So winning switch advantage is massive. Kyogre now going to be stuck against the Rayquaza. My opponent is going to send in Dialga. Dialga firing off the Iron Head. I will commit the shield, and I do want to get a Breaking Swipe applied, and then I can send in SKELEDIRGE. Breaking Swipe will get the shield. In comes SKELEDIRGE. I'm looking to overfarm quite a bit with the SKELEDIRGE. And this, well, I am going to be shielding this up in case it is the Draco Meteor, and it is. I'm looking to farm to 100. Oh, actually throw just before I get to 100 here, and I'm firing off the Disarming Voice. I go for the Undercharge. They commit the shield. I should be able to overfarm here, so I am going to overfarm, but my opponent takes advantage of the desync switch timers, and they catch the Disarming Voice onto Kyogre. I'm farming up. I make another Disarming Voice. Okay, this still feels doable. Disarming Voice will get the KO. Dialga rapidly running out of HP. They can't afford to take more Incinerate damage, so they're forced to throw the Iron Head. Iron Head gets the KO, but I can send in Rayquaza, and Rayquaza will get the KO onto Dialga. We see an awkward lead in the next match, Rayquaza into Mamoswine. I take double super effective damage, so I'm going to immediately save switch into the XERNEAS. I'm overfarming a lot with the XERNEAS. I could go for the Close Combat, but that lowers my defense, so I'm actually going to go for the Moonblast as I'm still able to grab a shield from my opponent. I'm going to let this go. I can survive an Avalanche here. Again, I'm non-debuffed. My opponent is probably going to look to switch, and they do. They're going to switch into Mewtwo. I overfarm and go for the Moonblast just before they make it to the Psystrike. Moonblast will connect. Mewtwo going to fire off the Psystrike, and I'm just going to let this go. XERNEAS did its job, and now I can send in Rayquaza. Rayquaza looking for the farm down, can't quite get there, and here, honestly, in hindsight, I think this is a misplay. I should have just saved shields for SKELEDIRGE because this is healthy, but unfortunately that Mamoswine left with a lot of energy. And of course an Avalanche would do way more than a Psystrike. In comes the Mamoswine, I'm firing off this Breaking Swipe into the Mamoswine, will be no shielded, aggressive switch into the SKELEDIRGE, and this is enough for the high horsepower here. They are debuffed, high horsepower, does massive damage. In the back, it's a Shadow Dragonite with a fraction of HP. SKELEDIRGE is able to make it to the Disarming Voice. Disarming Voice hits for big, super effective damage. I send back in Rayquaza. They are going to make it to the Dragon Claw, and that's going to force the final shield. So it all comes down to, can I Dragon Tail down here? I'm going to be met with the Mamoswine. There's a little bit of lag to start, but as you're going to see, I can't get the farm down. I fire off the Breaking Swipe here, but they have the Avalanche, so they can just shield, go for the Avalanche, and we made it as close as we could, but the Mamoswine lead proves to be a bit too difficult for us to handle. Hopping into the next match, sending Rayquaza into Giratina Altered. Giratina, of course, can hit back for super effective damage with Dragon Claw, which does quite a bit. They try and catch a Breaking Swipe onto Zacian, and you know what? I'm full sending the Dragon Ascent here. This will do massive damage if it lands, which it does, and now I'm going to send in XERNEAS to absorb that energy. It is a wild charge from the Zacian. Zacian is going to get farmed down by Geomancy, and they can't really afford to send in the Giratina, so we should see their third here. Opponent in the back, they have XERNEAS, and we have once again found a XERNEAS for SKELEDIRGE to absolutely feast on. Moonblast does massive damage. I'm farming up here. I decided to just go for the close combat, just get whatever chip damage that I can. My opponent is going to let that go, and it is the CMP tie, so I can just let this go as well. At this point, they're probably going to be switching. I'm expecting they're not going to stay in with this low health of a Pokemon, so I'm actually going to send in the Rayquaza, anticipating them to switch back into the Giratina, so that way I do have a bit of a head start. They will fire off the Dragon Claw. I'm shielding the first, and I'm shielding the second, because they're just running out of HP here. If I can get rid of the Giratina, then there is nothing stopping SKELEDIRGE from sweeping in the back. Breaking Swipe into the Giratina will be shielded, farming up with Rayquaza. Rayquaza almost able to get the KO, but not quite. Giratina, Dragon Claw will connect. In the back, it's just the low health XERNEAS, and SKELEDIRGE secures the win. We see mirror lead in the next game, Rayquaza versus Rayquaza. A lot of opponents have been trying to go for catches out of the Rayquaza mirror, so this time I actually don't throw right away. But this time, my opponent does not go for the catch, so I'm just going to go for the one shield farm down. My opponent does not want to let that happen. They're going to save switch into Melmetal, and I can respond with XERNEAS. XERNEAS, my goal is just to tank multiple rock slides, then go for close combat, but they're running Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon does massive damage, but the good news about XERNEAS is I'm able to tank the Flash Cannon, still make the back-to-back close combats, fire off the first, and win CMP over Melmetal on the second. This close combat will get the KO. I'm heavily debuffed, but I neutralized the Melmetal. My opponent is going to send in Rayquaza. Rayquaza is looking for the farm down and gets it. And now the question is, can I snipe with a Dragon Tail? No. In the back, it's Solgaleo. Oh my goodness, Solgaleo is about to have a really unfortunate day. Not only are they debuffed, but they're going up against SKELEDIRGE. SKELEDIRGE is going to be able to absorb Psychic Fangs, no problem. As a second charge move, Solgaleo typically runs Iron Head or Flamethrower, and both are resisted by SKELEDIRGE. Opponent tries to call the bait. In comes Rayquaza. Rayquaza is going to be firing off the Breaking Swipe. That does so much damage. Looking for the farm down with the SKELEDIRGE. I can't quite get it, but my Rayquaza will still take the win. We see a very tough lead in the next match, Rayquaza into another Dialga. Same game plan as before, save switch into XERNEAS. My opponent is going to respond with Mewtwo. Mewtwo is a bit of an uncomfortable Pokemon to see as a counter switch to a XERNEAS save switch. It's a battle of neutral damage, and you do a ton of damage with Moonblast, but the issue is, Geomancy, great for energy generation, not good for damage. So I'm not going to be able to fast move down, and they're just going to be able to outpace. Psystrike, very, very spammy. They're able to get the KO. I can send in the Rayquaza, get the farm down. I should have waited my clock there, as now I'm still switch locked. I'm forced to go for a Breaking Swipe. This will deal some pretty nice chip damage here. Breaking Swipe into Dialga. I send in the SKELEDIRGE in the back. They have Therian Landorus. Was countered on the lead and now countered really severely in the back. This is not looking good. I shield the Stone Edge. I think maybe if I can double bait, I might have a chance. So I go for the Disarming Voice bait, and the opponent calls it. Things just going from bad to worse here because I can't incinerate down. They're going to be able to make it to another Stone Edge, so I'm forced to throw energy, and at this point they can just save 2 shields for Dialga. 2 shield Dialga basically beats the entire Master League meta, and as you're going to see, I'm just going to run out of HP on the SKELEDIRGE, and they can pretty comfortably get the KO with some Dragon Breath and an Iron Head onto the Rayquaza. So I should be able to grab the second shield here with the Disarming Voice, but I can't make another move, so I have to switch. And when I send in Rayquaza, they can just go for the Iron Head. So unfortunately there, bit of a tough team comp, and I'm just not able to overcome to the degree that I'd like to. And SKELEDIRGE, unfortunately, will get KO'd with a resisted Iron Head. Speaking of Mewtwo, we now see it on the lead in the next game. Rayquaza versus Mewtwo. Rayquaza does lose the zeros, but does win the ones. So I'll typically always shield this first move, knowing that if I commit a shield and they commit a shield back, then I'm in a pretty okay position. So I'm going to be shielding up and then firing off the Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe will be shielded by the Mewtwo. Mewtwo returning fire with the Side Strike, but this is now debuffed, so I can let this go. Side Strike connects. They're now going to save switch into Dialga, and I'm going to respond with XERNEAS. Farming up with the XERNEAS. My opponent, again, over farming, waiting for me to lower my defense with a close combat, so I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to go for the Moonblast. Moonblast still does a lot of damage. I'm just going to continue to farm up. Iron Head, not going to be lethal here. Iron Head, I can tank that, and now I can fire off the close combat. They're very low. Close combat will be lethal here. So close combat, oh, it actually gets shielded. I go for another close combat, but they throw just before I get there. And you know what this looks like to me? This looks like perfect Incinerate farm down range for the Crocodile. In comes SKELEDIRGE. SKELEDIRGE now up energy in the back. It's a Garchomp, and it's a Mudshot Garchomp. I'm firing off Disarming Voice. Disarming Voice will connect. I switch into Rayquaza to try and snipe, but I accidentally threw a Dragon Tail, and that Dragon Tail is going to allow them to catch. But I get the perfect undercharge with 1 HP remaining. I leave with the Breaking Swipe. That does enough damage onto the Garchomp that I can shield up, and I should be able to Incinerate farm down with the SKELEDIRGE, and SKELEDIRGE takes the victory. We move into the next match. We lead Rayquaza into, you guessed it, yet another Dialga. I'm safe switching into XERNEAS. Let's see what they have. Opponent staying in this matchup, which is honestly not terrible for me. They're firing off the Iron Head. I'm going to let this go because I know that I can tank this, and I'm going to look to farm up. My opponent now going to send in Mewtwo. So we have seen Dialga-Mewtwo combination before. Last time, it didn't go so well for us. I tried going for the close combat, but my opponent, with perfect awareness of my energy, they win the CMP tie, and they deny that energy. I'm going to send in Rayquaza. Rayquaza can't quite get the farm down. This time, I'm just going to save the shield. I'm going to trust in SKELEDIRGE. Let's see what SKELEDIRGE can do versus Dialga. My opponent waiting their timer here. In comes Dialga. I'm firing off the Breaking Swipe, and then it is SKELEDIRGE time. In comes SKELEDIRGE into Dialga. It's Kyogre in the back, and I immediately resign the match. Hopping to the final match, and we see a terrible lead, leading Rayquaza into Melmetal. I'm going to save switch into the XERNEAS. I'm farming up with the XERNEAS here. XERNEAS continues to farm. Opponent goes for a catch. I fire off the Moonblast as my opponent ends up sending in Togekiss. So my opponent looks like they are running a bit of a budget Master League team. Let's see what we can do here with our SKELEDIRGE in the back. I fire off the Moonblast. That's going to get the KO. They just let the Togekiss go, anticipating that I probably have something in back that does well against it. Rock Slide from the Melmetal will connect. I'm farming up with the XERNEAS and going for the close combat. Close combat does a lot of damage here into the Melmetal. We will see the shield. Farming up with the XERNEAS. XERNEAS cannot make the close combat as Melmetal will get the KO. Melmetal goes for the superpower as that is slightly cheaper, but now they're debuffed. And since they're debuffed, I'm actually going to no shield here. This is super effective damage, but they are debuffed. So the Rock Slide will connect. I continue to farm. In the back, opponent has a Dragon Tail Gyarados, and this is where it gets a bit tricky, as Gyarados, of course, can hit 4 super effective damage into both the Rayquaza and the SKELEDIRGE. I'm firing off this Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe is going to deal some solid chip damage into the Gyarados. I'm looking for the farm down of the Gyarados. I can't quite get there. I'm just going to let this go, trusting in SKELEDIRGE. Aqua Tail will not get the KO. Melmetal throws right away. Honestly, that's fine. I was going to try and build up to fake a Dragon Ascent, but now I don't have to. I can just bring back in the SKELEDIRGE, and SKELEDIRGE is firing off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is going to be shielded by the Melmetal. I'm making it to Shadow Ball number 2, but this will not KO, and that is a bit of an issue. Shadow Ball will get them low. They're firing off the charge move here. I have to shield and hope that the Incinerate KOs. Rock Slide gets the shield, and the Incinerate takes down Melmetal. All in all, I had a lot of fun getting to run my new level 50 SKELEDIRGE. SKELEDIRGE is definitely not a Pokemon I would recommend for the Open Master League. It's mainly just used as a bit of a fun pick to hard counter the heck out of XERNEAS. It could have some really interesting play in future Master Premier metas though, as of course with the legendaries not being there, the stat products being a little lower, a Pokemon that maxes around 3400 could see some interesting play. So if you have a hundo, it might be worth hanging on to just in case it has some play in future Master Premier metas. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.